Hello, Galaxy! I'm Chris Pirillo, and I apologize for all these awkward starts, if indeed they are awkward starts with the silence that happens to come before I start speaking. Because even though it says I'm live, sometimes I'm not actually live until I know I'm actually live, if that makes any sense to you at all. Either way, I am live. You tuned into another live edition of the Locker Room Daily Report, or TLDR for short. Today, yes, even though you can ask me anything, my mind has been on one thing in particular since about 10 p.m. last night. That's when I first gained access to Disney Plus, the subscription service that I will have until I die. And the subscription service may very well actually continue even after I'm dead. That is entirely a possibility. But the first thing I did with Disney Plus, of course, was watch The Mandalorian. That's the only thing I wanted. That's the only thing I needed from the launch. Granted, they've launched with a ton of titles, ton of movies, quite an amazing library. I've been a fan of Disney movies ever since I was a kid. I grew up with cable TV and the Disney Channel as it was back then. It was rather amazing. Before they even got into doing a lot of original programming, as a matter of fact. So a lot of the Disney that I grew up with was Disney Channel, the older stuff. Even though I'm old, the older stuff was aired as though it was new, right? Or it was new to me. But I'm just saying that the Disney Channel was new. The movies that Disney played back then were old. So The Mandalorian, as I mentioned last night, was a chance for Disney to kind of bring a new era to Star Wars and the fandom and entertainment. And spoiler alert, I think they knocked it out of the park with The Mandalorian. Now, we've only seen one episode. But if the first episode is any indication as to what we can expect in the overarching first season of The Mandalorian, I am I am so happy, and I'm not the only one. I will have to say before I go too much further that this is going to be a spoiler-filled video. Spoilers. So if you're watching and then you're angry because you don't get a chance to watch it, well, I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna watch it if you want to. That's the one thing that I would say was a big negative, kind of a black mark against Disney on this. It was not released worldwide at the same time, which is kind of maddening and frustrating. Like I'm grateful that I had a chance to watch it in first run, because avoiding spoilers for 3-4 months would be impossible. And so I am very concerned that that's how they're going to do things moving forward. I think that was just with the launch of Disney Plus as a subscription service. Hopefully, with future seasons, everyone gets the episode at the same time, as well it should be, because that keeps people from, being hit by spoilers. So there's not a long enough ramble to let you know that what I'm about to talk about is absolutely going to be filled with spoilers. I do have a super chat here from VT Productions PC. I'll have to catch after work, but a little something to get the ball rolling. Well, thank you for my, are those Imperial credits? Are they, let's see here, calamari flan? I think if I remember correctly, I've only had a chance to watch it 1.5 times. Once last night, and then once just before the show, and then I started playing with Jedi a bit, so I got taken away in the last half. But I asked Jedi if she wants to watch it with me, because I think it'd be fun. I mean, there wasn't anything in this first episode that was necessarily something that I think would be too much for her. I could be wrong. I don't know. But it absolutely, not that my expectations were high. My expectations were, I just want to enjoy it as a Star Wars fan, and I did, and probably more than I thought I would. So a few random thoughts, and I know we've got a couple other people here who may join in the fray. In somewhat chronological order, as I was taking notes watching it for a second time. The Twitter trending feed spoil it for me. People, yeah, Super Awesome Geek Show, no doubt, especially the very end, especially that very last part, very last part. I'll get to it. I don't want to jump into it right now because that was quite a shock. So my first takeaways in watching it last night, I loved the opening Star Wars character animation where they had kind of this 3D, like a light, kind of cast against these, shadows or like silhouettes of R2-D2, Kylo Ren, Darth Vader, C-3PO, etc. I really liked that. That was really cool. So that was a great way of kind of introducing people to, okay, what you're about to see is in the realm of Star Wars. And in fact, it's actually, after that, it's just Star Wars. So there's no crawl or anything. I think that would be absolute overkill for this particular series. So I liked how it was introduced. Loved the establishing shot, it was just, it was perfect. And that's the word I wrote, like, perfect. I'm like, okay, what's going on? What's this? And then, of course, the opening scene, which was a part of the teaser, pretty much was the teaser, was right there, intact. It was a perfect way of setting the stage for the show, the character, general style. It was great. Like, from the first few minutes, pulled me right in. All the way to, and I made note of this last night in talking about the trailer or the teaser, the most recent one published last night before the show actually went live or public. The sound, like there's kind of a flute sound. I'm reminded of the flute that Bill plays in Kill Bill Volume 2 when he's talking about the story about Pai Mei. That kind of flute sound, that's the closest thing to my ear. In the style, like a fantasy western style. So I picked up on the music even then, and I'll come back to that. But I thought it was a perfect character introduction. And then immediately you see the with the title, the theme with the title is perfect. I love the Mandalorian theme, and the greater picture is I love the Mandalorian score. Even when I was watching it last night, I'd pick up on certain cues. I'm like, wow, the sound, the score, right? The soundtrack. I'm like, this is spectacular. Like, this is, I will say, film quality music, film quality attention, film quality production, film quality character, film quality story. And this to me is exactly why I think The Mandalorian is going to be a hit. Star Wars notwithstanding, I think anybody could, in watching this, I think anybody could jump into it without having watched any Star Wars, or certainly not having watched any of the modern stuff if they watched the older or the original stuff. You don't need to be steeped in lore, I think, to enjoy this particular production. There are certain elements that I think would add to the flavor, but I think on its own as an episodic series, it stands up. And this to me is the most exciting thing, because now Disney is going to be able to move these stalwarts outside the idea that the only way that Star Wars exists is within the cinema, as a film, as a feature-length film. And I've been jazzing to move past that for so long. This is absolutely a great way to start the idea of this kind of thing for Star Wars. I mentioned this last night. I'd be fine with films few and far between. Fine by me. I enjoy a good Star Wars film, don't get me wrong. But I would be equally as satisfied with what they're doing with The Mandalorian. Equally, if not more so. I'll get into this. And I think we all, as a basic, understand the value of episodic content, where we can get to know the characters more. We can spend more time on the story. Things aren't rushed. You have a chance to breathe. You have a chance to kind of explore. And that was certainly prevalent in the first Mandalorian episode as well. One thing to note in relation to the score, before I get on too long, I adored it all the way through the episode. But the soundtrack is now available on all the streaming platforms. So in the car today, I was listening to it. I'm like, yeah, it's good. So here's the funny thing. They released the soundtrack for, this is chapter 1, the Mandalorian chapter 1. They released an album for it. So are we going to get a new album for every one of the Mandalorian episodes? Wow. I mean, they got the content. You might as well reuse it, right? So I love the new species that we're seeing. And of course, seeing the old species, like, oh, look, it's a Rodian. Oh, that's awesome. It was interesting to see the refresher, which we first heard about in Star Wars Rebels. If you didn't watch Rebels, well, if you're a Disney Plus subscriber, you can watch Rebels now, and you should. Rebels is a fantastic animated series. That wasn't the first time that we'd ever heard about, relieving oneself. It was known as the refresher. Another interesting point that the creature at the beginning made mention of, the bounty, if you will, said he wanted to celebrate Life Day. So Life Day is officially canon. November 17th is officially canon. It's canon. I have my red robe. I'm ready. I'm ready for Life Day to come. Can't wait. Another thing to note, and I'm skipping parts. This is somewhat chronological here, but Constable Zuvio, assumedly, I think that's Zuvio, is on screen when he was when the Mandalorian was speaking to. I'm still fresh on their names. Not his handler, not his pimp, but basically the bounty handler from the guild. He was mentioned by Werner's character. And his name escapes me as well. It'll come to me, or someone will mention it here. But anyway, Zuvio was briefly there in that cantina, the second cantina in the series. Just for a brief second. You didn't really get to see his face, though. I'm like, oh, man, that would have been kind of neat. But I'm also kind of glad that it was done the way it was. Because, some of the things that I picked up on is, especially in these conversations that these characters have with one another, if there's exposition happening, it's not heavy-handed. Right? Like, as the Mandalorian sits down, he doesn't say such and such, and explains what's going on so that people can kind of, keep up with what's happening, and the guy doesn't say, the Mandalorian, exposition, I feel, just cheapens the story. And I think this story skirted around that fairly enough where you weren't kept completely in the dark, but you also weren't spoon-fed something. I really appreciated that. Almost instantaneously, like first 15 minutes, half hour, I was without question seeing so many cues and seeing species and hearing audio and seeing and hearing cues that made me not even question that I was watching something that was a Star Wars experience. And I love that. I love the fact that there were enough cues to make me, without going overboard with it. It just felt natural, right? It felt right, all the way down to when the Mandalorian was about to go to see the ex-Imperials, if you will. The droid that pops out, remember from Jabba's palace, it comes out, speaks Huttese. I thought that was fantastic, a nice little addition. I was like, whoa, cool. I mean, that's what I really liked. I was just like, yeah, it fit. It wasn't fan service. It just felt like it flowed, right? It was interesting, though. Some things that I again, in watching it again, things that I started thinking about. His signet's not revealed. So what's his clan, right? Obviously, there are Mandalorians there. Same clan, different clan. We don't know. But of course, there's still a bit that's going to be played out with the Siege of Mandalore, which we have, of course, I'd imagine, hope is going to play out in what may very well likely be the final season of Clone Wars when it's released in 2020. So it'll be interesting to hear about that in the Purge and to potentially watch that all play out in the Clone Wars with now knowing what's happening with the Mandalorian. So I thought that was interesting. The foraging scene. This is one example of what we get in a series that we wouldn't necessarily get in a film. Like so many, I'm not going to say side quests, right? But so many things in this first episode that if this was a film, it'd be like boom, boom, like. But even though it wasn't a film, like things were popping. Could this have been cut down to 15 minutes? Sure. Could have been cut down to a half hour? Sure. But no, keep it in, like it was perfect at an hour. The pacing for the whole episode was perfect. Like not at any point was I wondering how long it was. I know it's a good episode when at the end of it I'm like, and like that's how I know it's a good episode. And there's so many quote unquote television shows, and I'm being very loose with that label because so many people see television as the way it used to be. And I think this is the style of entertainment that is the style of entertainment that people are going to want more of moving forward. So we had a chance to do a side quest, right, and to see the forging of the Beskar steel. Again, some of these words are new to me, at least hearing them out loud. But we got to see the forging and the instruments that were used in the Mandalorian. The craftswoman, bringing it all together and suggesting, oh, this would be a good pauldron, and placing it on. I mean, just things that just kind of expand that, expand the depth of this individual, or these individuals coming together, and what's their story, right? We don't know it yet, but it's coming together. So the forging scene specifically is an example of what we get in a series that we wouldn't probably get in a film. Or let's follow it up with, because we're almost there anyway, but the Ugnaught, right? And I can't remember his name, I apologize. The one that I think Nick Nolte voiced, he, the Mandalorian was basically training, if you will, or learning how to ride a blurg. And blurg aren't new. If you watch Star Wars Rebels, they're not new. Animated very well in Rebels as well, but it was pretty cool to see them here in the Mandalorian. But the fact that we got the feeling that the Mandalorian's not a master of everything, right? And he had to figure out how to do it. But to have that extended scene where he had a chance to kind of bond a little bit with the blurg before mounting it and ultimately riding it, again, these little scenes are perfect examples. On their own, fine, but in aggregate, help build the story. And we just don't see that kind of stuff, at least on a consistent basis throughout a film, because a film's got to be boom, 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 and can maybe have a small part, boom, boom, boom. And this is what I really am looking forward to in the series. Something that I made note of here at this point was I got into The Mandalorian quicker than I think I've gotten into some Star Wars movies. So I didn't... It took me a long time to get into Rogue One. First time watching it, I remember getting halfway through, I think it was the destruction of Jeddah or something thereabout, and I'm like, is the movie going to start? It's just, it didn't feel right to me, right? And then when it was over, I'm like, what happened to the character development? Why didn't I feel anything? Even to a certain degree, the prequels, right? I was interested in the Phantom Menace, but it took me a while to get into it, and even Attack of the Clones, I was interested, but it took me a while to kind of get drawn into it. Revenge of the Sith was more on point, but this is what I'm saying about The Mandalorian. Just the way the story was told, not even the premise, just the way the story is told, pulled me in, made me feel this is Star Wars. I'm in. I'm bought in. I felt, though, to reiterate, I was drawn into this quicker or more quickly than I was, at the same time frame within a Star Wars movie. Meaning, I'm bought in, and forget whether it's film or quote unquote TV, whatever the hell that means now. This type of episodic content, I think, is a great type of future and a great viable path for Star Wars live action series. Film, I think, could easily at some point become secondary to it. In terms of grossing, it's not really going to work because film makes money differently. Merchandising is a question, certainly, but I think they've renewed The Mandalorian for 2 seasons, so it's got a second season coming. The Mandalorian could easily run for 7 seasons. Easily. Will it? I don't know. But dude, yeah, easily. It's only going to get better. Because, effects get better and you're able to build more of the story and involve and, get drawn into the characters, etc. The Ugnaughts mouth, the practical effects, at first was kind of throwing me off, but I'm like, okay, no, I get it. And I loved the wise I have spoken. Just this character that was just exuded wisdom, right? Without having to this layer of braggadocio, right? Perfect. It was a very expressive face for the practical effects. And I appreciated that. It worked for me. Absolutely. The music, especially when the Mandalorian theme comes in with the boom, 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 it's just perfect. It is perfect. And that's when I was reminded in watching it the second time, the theme or the music, the score, the soundtrack does not take a back seat in this series. It is as much a star as the aliens, as the Mandalorian, as the actors and actresses, as the effects, as everything. Like it's like on point, absolutely on point. And the conductor, I think, he did the Black Panther too. I'm spacing on his name right now, but I'm sure chat will pick up on it. So in the scene where they're going to the mark, IG-11, right, being there in this droid, right, and obviously the Mandalorian doesn't like droids, so that kind of was set up at the beginning. But IG-11 was absolutely on point, like just like from the way. Sorry, IG-11. Now comes the part of my Mandalorian review, episode 1 review, where I get to do one of my favorite things ever, and that is open a Star Wars figure. This is the Best Buy exclusive, the one that came in a damaged box, because Best Buy apparently just doesn't care about the exclusives that they carry. I also have this Best Buy exclusive, which I got on sale, thank God. It was, there's Best Buy there. The ATST Raider exclusive, horrible box condition. Not quite collector quality, like mashed corners and whatnot. So it'll probably get opened. The reason why I wanted it is not because of the Chicken Walker, but specifically because I think it's a Clutunian figure, right? So I can't wait for that. Apologies for the chroma keying with the green, but I wanted it specifically for that figure. And of course the classic Kenner logo on the toy. I will wait until Best Buy has another sale and then go out and hopefully find a better box so that I can open this baby. It'd be nice to have part of the vintage collection. Otherwise, I'm not as interested in the vehicles without the figures. So IG-11, from the voice matching the droid to the animation and how it was animated, I'm like, man, IG-88 in The Empire Strikes Back is gonna look so dated, because this figure, right? This character is just, it's done so well. The best, easily topping the IG characters that we saw in earlier animated series. Like the IG-11 is fantastically done in episode 1. Fantastically done. And I'm like, yeah, I want to see more. Perfect gunfight. Like, do you want to? This is a perfect type of Western, fantasy Western type of experience. And in fact, that's what I basically put in here. I love that they're fighting the Nikto. Awesome. IG-11 was on point. I could easily see kind of this, odd couple, this pairing, an easy team up between the Mandalorian and IG-11. They seemingly worked well together, played well off of each other. And the chemistry between this droid and the Mandalorian, I thought, was so perfect. The chemistry was better than a lot of the chemistry that I might have seen in other films, and sometimes better chemistry than I saw between other characters in other Star Wars films. So the gunfight was astounding, and of course leading up to the crescendo, right, the end of the episode, where they're basically going to find the bounty or the mark, right, and we don't know what's going to happen. We don't, what is this? And they see this orb, and we sense in the life signs in the orb, and like, well, it must be a small character, right? And I'm thinking small character. So like, what was his name? From the Clone Wars, Steven Stanton voiced him. I want to say Gaston. That's the anti-hero in Beauty and the Beast. But there was a general, or like a character, this like super small character that he could fit inside an astromech. So first I was thinking, oh, it's a small character, right? So when they go a little further in, and you see like the 3-fingered, like the 3 green fingers, and then the full. I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna stop short of saying Yoda and stop short of saying baby, because one, this baby is 50 years old. And 2, it's not Yoda, but everyone's calling it Yoda Baby. So it's just funny. I was just like, oh, no way. I'm like, oh man, because we don't know to this point in canon We don't. Oh, I just love this figure. Oh man, IG-11, man, I love this figure probably more than IG-88. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna say it right now. In this one episode, I like IG-11, even though the Mandalorian blew a hole in his head. I like IG-11. He's got way more character and way more depth than IG-88. So that's interesting. Anyway, so we don't know. No one knows. We've only seen one other in Yoda species, Yaddle. You might remember very briefly, but then she was there and gone, right? So the Mandalorian is going to give us a chance to explore the culture of Mandalore a little deeper, of course, post-Empire, but also potentially find out Yoda's actual species. Like, we haven't known. Oh man. So like, is this character, this creature, this baby? I don't want to call it Yoda Baby because both terms are wrong. I mean, for the species, I suppose baby is accurate because, they can reach up to, that we know of, 900 years old. But it's not Yoda. It is not Yoda. It's not. Like, this character at 50 years old would have come along well before Yoda basically gave himself up to the Force in Return of the Jedi. Like, that was well within that time frame of ABY in terms of, and I don't have the exact number. Where are we ABY with the Mandalorian? Certainly post Empire, post ROTJ, but there's no way that there's zero chance that it's Yoda reincarnated. Yoda Baby, just go, look on Twitter. Like, it's just every second, I swear, someone is tweeting something about Yoda Baby, and I'm like, but it's not Yoda, and it's not really a baby. But it's a Yoda Baby because we can't call it the species name because we don't know. We don't know. No one knows. That's the thing. No one knows what Yoda is. It's never been explained ever. So the fact that the Mandalorian is giving us that gift, I'm like, this is too good. I'm like, oh, no way. So immediately then I'm thinking, why didn't they merch this? Why haven't I seen these babies out there? Here's the reason why. Because it would have been a massive spoiler. It would have been a massive spoiler. So this is where I really feel for the people that haven't seen it or will have had that spoiled. That's horrible. Because that was such a joyous moment for me to experience. Like, I was like, what? And then, of course, it ends. And then you hear that boom, 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 boom. And like, and then they put, like, in the closing credits, the art, right, comes in. I'm like, oh, what a perfect place to put the art. And the themes, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh, it was so good. It was so good. Episode 1 is so good. Oh, it was perfect. So I do have questions. Naturally, and I think I kind of brought some of them up. Well, one, are we going to find out more? I mean, we are going to obviously find out about this baby because this is I assume, the MacGuffin, right? But are we going to know the species name once and for all? That has to happen. Is IG-11 going to be basically done up again, right? Because we've seen him, of course, in promotions. I mean, it doesn't mean he will be. I mean, he could have absolutely been off. I think that would be a wasted opportunity to get rid of IG-11 because he had great chemistry with the Mandalorian, which, by the way, I have the carbonized version of the Mandalorian. This one's still in the box. But they had such amazing chemistry. They can't get rid of IG-11. It was just he was so good in battle. But it was also great that the Mandalorian, you saw his character, right? The IG-11 was ready to off him, right? He's a droid. He's got no feelings, right? He's got no emotions, and basically blows a hole right in his head, right? And he drops to the ground. Shows you where the Mandalorian's character stands, right? So he's going for bounties, but he's also got a heart, right? He has a heart. In up until that point, you don't really know, at least that I can think of, whether or not he has a heart. Everything he faces, despite his flashbacks to when he was a younger Mandalorian, assumedly on Mandalore during the Purge, or the Siege of Mandalore, you knew that he had emotions. Obviously he's a human being. He is a being. But this is where the character takes a stand. right? Like, okay, this is the mark. He's dead or alive, and you don't know whether or not he's going to take the bounty in or what, but you knew that he believed that I don't want to say Yoda Baby. The baby, okay, for all intents and purposes, let's say baby in relation to the lifespan of this particular species. The baby was a threat, so he made the kind of command decision like, no, it's not time to. We're not going to disintegrate. We're not going to destroy. We're not going to kill. Basically, you hear the and then IG-11 falls to the ground. And then the Mandalorian kind of reaches out, and the baby kind of reaches up, showing that connection, right? And so the Mandalorian has a heart, and that's where his character stands, and that's the line that isn't crossed. So he's not. He has a soul, right? And so it was a very interesting stance to take. Perfect way of ending an episode. Like, where's the next one? Ah, when's the next one's coming? Ah, so yeah. Question: will IG-11 be redone? I think that's possible because it'd be such a throwaway to just use him just for that one bit. He was just done too well to throw it away like that. We'll see. I don't know. I'm sure he's showed up in other promo materials. You just don't know, until it actually happens, and then we'll find out together. So scrolling back through chat here, Gaston was his name. Okay, so I was right with that. I guess I'm kind of jumping around. Give me a second. Oh, Queel. That's the Ugnaughts name. That's right. I do remember that. It's taking me a while it will take a while for me to kind of process and remember. I've only watched the episode like 1.5 times, and I will watch it many more. Oh, zero doubt, dude. This is easily going to become a classic. Oh, they did it right. They absolutely did it right. What do I think about Werner Herzog's character? I thought it was executed very, very well. Believable as an ex-Imperial, certainly. Absolutely, no doubt. Wasn't IG-88 in Rogue One? IG-11 is the same kind of droid. Yeah, they're the same kind of droids. In fact, there's an IG unit in The Empire Strikes Back in the Ugnaught chamber, and someone made the conclusion that may have been IG-11 in the Ugnaught chamber in The Empire Strikes Back. I haven't looked that deeply, but we'll see. So I'm not the only one who thinks IG-11 was great. He was just absolutely fantastic. So the Mandalorian's got to do something with him. He's a droid. He can be rebuilt. He stopped him in his tracks. He's gonna move forward, right? IG droids download themselves into other droid copies of themselves. That's why he'll self-destruct rather than get captured. Thank you, Super Awesome Geek Show. John, any struggle with the Disney login? No, I didn't have any problems that a lot of people had. Thank goodness. It hiccuped a little in the beginning, but I was okay. What's up with the baby Yoda? See, it's not okay. It's not Yoda. It's not Yoda. This is going to be the hardest thing to explain to people. That's not Yoda. Yoda is not the species. They are not the Yodan. Yoda is the character's name. It's going to drive me nuts until we have a name. And we may not have a name. We only have an age. And know that it's the species. It is clearly Yoda's species. Clearly. Huge. What do I think of all the original trilogy nods? I loved them. They didn't seem out of place, from the sequel nods to the trilogy nods to fandom nods. I thought they were all very well done, better than I could have hoped for. Certainly, I hope they keep a lot of mystery. Says John. Yeah, I don't know. I'll give me some unveiling. I'm good. Give me some unveiling. Yeah, you love the sweatshirt. I was actually wearing my Shadow Trooper sweatshirt, and I realized, wait, I have a Boba Fett sweatshirt. Let me go wear that. I'm talking about Mando all the things, right? John says, so rare that finding one alive is worth billions of credits and many. Yeah, there must not be many of them. Don't know. And we don't know. A species has got to be incredibly rare. Incredibly. Stop with the self-destruct. Exactly. I mean, the chemistry between those two was amazing. That's the one part that I really want to watch again. And I got pulled into doing this video. It's like, I gotta go. I played with my daughter a bit, being able to watch at least watch it again a second time halfway through was fun. Just as much fun the second time around. I don't know if I noticed anything different the second time around as I did the first time, but it was equally as enjoyable. Easily equally as enjoyable. So yeah, let's call it Yordle. Yeah, I don't want to call it anything yet. Because we can't. Doesn't have a name. Doesn't have a species. We know it's maybe. And here's the thing: the species may continue to be unknown. It may be possible. No one ever asked the question. It's never been a thing. So the species may be unknown, continue to be unknown, which is just maddening. It's the one secret, right? That would be the most amazing secret to keep. Like, what's Yoda's species? What is this species? We just don't know. When they try to escape the ice and held back by the monster, you can hear the Falcon's failing hyperdrive sound. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, certain sounds. Like, I don't know if the character was Grindon, but certainly the Grindon's species from episode 4, the one that basically ratted on Luke and Ben and the droids, seeing him there and playing his flute to bring up the car or the speeders, ice speeders, if you will. It was really neat to see that, like the sound. Again, I'm like, yes. It wasn't that I was thinking, I'm watching a television show. No, not at all. It's like it's all, to me. It is all just being immersed in the Star Wars galaxy. Is Sabine in the show? I don't know. It could be possible. It would be feasible. If Sabine would certainly be around, certainly a little older from the Rebels days, but certainly within that, I think within the era, it is possible. I don't think she'll necessarily make an appearance, but we'll see. Yoda clone? I don't know. Yoda doesn't strike me as someone who would intentionally clone himself. I don't know. That's a question. Let's see here. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through the chat to see if I missed anything. I should have been watching chat as I was going through it, but I didn't want to get distracted. I wanted to pour out like my thoughts and feelings and the experience, which is like, as I said in the beginning, it receives high praise from me, not just as a Star Wars fan, but as someone who's looked forward to this, for a long time. This type of content, episodic content. I want to see Disney doing more of this. I'd be thrilled if we got 1 or 2 new shows every year. I don't think that's a bit ambitious, but at least 1 new Star Wars series a year and a continuation of older ones would be amazing, dude. Amazing. I would love that. What race is the bluegill guy? I'm not sure I caught that. Maybe they do they used to do like a Rebels Recon, and they do one buckets list. I don't know if they're going to do something similar for the Mandalorian. They did like a Star Wars type of show to kind of break it down a little bit further. I would like to see that, though. If I missed it and that was done, I got to go back and watch it. I've got to watch the Mandalorian behind the scenes too, because there was a behind the scenes that was produced as well. Mandalorian, all the things. Oh man, this. Oh, so good, so good. I told you I was more excited for the Mandalorian than Episode 9. It's true. Episode 9 is going to be epic on a completely different level, but man, we finally got a live-action Star Wars show. I'm so excited. Oh, so good, so good. Oh, cannot wait. So now here's my question. When is the next one coming out? That's my question. When is the next one? Shadow Drift says they should have released the entire season like Netflix does. So here's the thing. I'm going to disagree with you on that. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Disney apologist, because I'm not a Disney apologist. I do think that there must have been something legal about them not being able to release worldwide Disney Plus. But it is really sad news that some are going to have it spoiled. You won't be able to avoid it. And I think for everybody else, a day after release, like 24 hours after release, I think is mostly ample time. If not that, then 48 hours release, ample time for television episodic content and being spoiled. Immediately, too soon. An hour, too soon. So the fact that they're staggering it is exciting. I love that. I would so as much as I love binging. I do love binging. Especially when I have the time to kind of go through stuff. But this is something that I want to have drawn out. I want to enjoy it bit by bit. And, here's the reason why. Because it extends the experience. Instead of just shooting it all at once. Now imagine if they had released it all in one shot. Then some of these moments we would not have a chance to reflect upon. We wouldn't have a chance to digest it. They wouldn't have as much of an impact. We don't know what the next surprise is going to be. But like the Yoda, the quote unquote Yoda Baby reveal, even though it's not Yoda, it's not really a baby. Why'd they? Those small things would get missed, or like the whole bonding with the blurg, or the scene where they're forging, or the longer conversations, or the setups. Like we would miss all that, and we'd lose all that, and we couldn't enjoy all that because it's like candy, right? You can have a bite of candy and enjoy it, but if you eat too much, it's just too much. And I don't think that's always a good thing. Just because it can be done doesn't mean it should. I think staggering it out is fine, as long as this is my caveat to that. As long as everybody has equal opportunity and equal time to be able to watch, so we can all have a chance to experience these ups and downs together, instead of I experience it this time, you experience it this time, we have a chance to ride a similar wave. And so I really don't mind that they're doing that personally. It extends the experience. Am I willing to do that for, like, let's say Star Trek Discovery? No, I'm willing to binge on that. I can wait. I'm not going to worry about Star Trek Discovery. But for the Star Wars, stuff, the fact that I can do it every week. Here's the thing. I know what I will continue to enjoy The Mandalorian once a week, once every 2 weeks. The first 2 episodes will be released only a few days apart, November 12th and 15th. Yes, respectively. Yeah. Woo! Even though I watched it on the 11th. Every week or so, every 2 weeks or whatever, it's just this regular kind of schedule where it's always fresh. And to extend that period over time, yeah, Star Wars needs to do that. I need a new... I challenge Disney to give me a new Star Wars bit of this kind of content every week, every other week. Entertainment, Star Wars entertainment. I'll give them this every other week. Okay, even a month. Even every month would be amazing. Compared to waiting 2 years between films. Oh my God, no. Like, no, ain't gonna happen, man. I'm just gonna say that. I don't disagree with their decision. I'm glad we're able to kind of enjoy this together. So, yeah, see, a lot of people seem to have a similar sentiment, too. Love the forging scene. See, you just get a chance to explore this stuff that it would just be glossed over otherwise. I'm not sure if I'm going to say the Orville's better than Discovery. I think we'll see. I cannot judge Picard because I haven't seen it yet, but I will, for sure. Not that any of them can really be compared, but... do I think it will be on physical copy like Blu-ray? It's possible. If there's enough demand for it, yeah. I guess the only other thing that cropped up on my radar today was apparently A New Hope. All the films are now 4K, which I haven't watched in 4K ever that I know of. But they inserted a dialogue. Greedo now says something right before or after he's shot in the cantina, so that's something I want to fast forward to see. And by the way, I missed VT Productions PC also sent a super sticker, so thank you. He says it was the para character lifting some weights, saying keep it up. Well, thank you very, very, very much. Okay, let's see here. What do we have on comments? Because I've said everything I need to say. I'm ready to wrap because Jedi and I are going to watch it. I'm not sure if she's going to want to watch it. She saw some of the Disney Plus things when I scrolled through it to show her. Dumbo jumped out at her, and she said, I want to watch Dumbo. So she must have remembered it from the commercials. So we're going to watch Dumbo tonight. Whether or not The Mandalorian happens before, I don't know yet. We shall see. You finally made it to a live. Well, it's about time, except you're like 45 minutes late, and I'm about to wrap up. But I appreciate your comments after the fact that they're live. I make sure I heart them. Thank you. Star Wars is greater than Star Trek. I agree, but I don't disagree. But one is fantasy and one is sci-fi. They're not mutually exclusive. It is okay to like both. It is okay to like one over the other. Star Wars is absolutely my fandom, but I do enjoy Star Trek as well. I think that's fair. Minutes after watching, I started reinstalling Star Wars Battlefront 2. Oh, that's funny. I haven't done that yet. Oh, speaking of Star Wars video games, I thought I was going to be able to play Jedi Fallen Order or stream it this Friday. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm probably going to be streaming Jedi Fallen Order at some point next week. I don't know if it's going to be on the PC or what yet. I will be getting it on the Xbox and likely playing it before the weekend, but I probably won't be streaming it. But I will be playing it for sure. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I'd imagine if you've tuned in that you also happen to like or love the Mandalorian first episode. Do I want to say I'm in love? Like I'm just absolutely. I'm not gonna say. I hesitate to say blown away. I don't want to make it sound hyperbolic, but man, it was absolutely stellar. Stellar for what an episode could be. Perfect. I don't think I would have changed a thing. I don't think I was like concerned or confused or saddened or like disappointed. Not a single disappointment. And I've been disappointed with things in Star Wars before. So don't think, Chris, you like it because it's Star Wars. Not all the time. Not every time, buddy. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Oh, I moved views because I thought I had the chat, but there you go. You get to see the Mythosaur skull that was referred to during the episode by Queel, the Ugnaught Queel. He said, "Your ancestors tamed the Mythosaur." So thank you everybody for tuning in. I will be back again tomorrow, not talking about the Mandalorian. Probably boring old tech stuff again. No, it's not that boring. Come on, I'm just too excited by Star Wars. It's too exciting for me. I can't stop. Some people are into sports. I'm into Star Wars. Star Wars is my sport. I'm arming IG-11 before he self-destructs. Oh, cool. They put little pegs on IG-11. That's really nice, so he can hold his blaster. Oh, God, that's perfect. That's amazing. So, see, he can hold the, what is that, an E11? And then the rifle, laser rifle here. Let's get in his hand. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, yeah! Does he spin around? Oh, come on! He does spin around, but his bandolier gets in the way. Oh, come on. Everyone's going to rush out to Best Buy now to get this. It's an exclusive. Oh, so cool. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I love you. I appreciate you. And at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. See you tomorrow. And may the Force be with you after you join the open/free Discord server, which is at live.pirillo.com, if that's not a typo. Okay, now I'm going to finish what I was saying before. Always